This is Satellite 5.
Hello and welcome to Satellite 5. I am Jamie.
And I'm Callum.
So this YouTube type thing is just for us to inform everyone of the most recent Doctor Who news. We'll also review episodes and Big Finish audios. Today I'm delighted to announce our special guest, Lisa Bowerman. Hello, Lisa.
Hello guys, how are you?
We're grand. Well, we both met at the festival different days.
Oh.
I was the Friday because I met you twice because I had a conversation with you and Toby.
Oh yes, indeed.
Yeah, we were because of the Shadow Proclamation, the one that got cancelled.
Oh, that's yeah. I remember actually. Yeah, actually Friday was less fraught, wasn't it? You probably had quite an easy day on the Friday.
Because Saturday was very busy, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it was really busy because I was there when I was there compared to the 50th. The whole
the 50th was bonkers.
Yeah.
Like the whole kind of place was a lot better organised at the festival.
Yeah. I think they learned from the mistakes at the 50th.
Yeah. The stalls for me, the stalls weren't the only decent one. I'm not saying this to be like a suck up, but Big Finish was kind of like the better stall because the rest were kind of either old stuff or didn't have the stuff because there was for instance, a lot of the merchandise has been coming out now and they had none of the new stuff.
Ah.
It was only really Big Finish that had the most recent stuff.
Absolutely. I think also because the festival was concentrating just on the Capaldi years, wasn't it? So I think that's probably why it was geared to that slightly. But if they didn't have really up-to-date stuff, that must have been frustrating for the guys who collect.
Yeah, they didn't even have Capaldi figures.
Oh, right. That's a surprise.
I was trying to find them in London.
Oh well.
I was trying to get them, but no, they weren't there.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm surprised they had the new Big Finish audio there, the Shields of Jotium. I think that's how you pronounce it.
I know they worked really hard to get everything out in time for the festival. I know that it happened with the Jago Lightfoot and Strax audio as well. They were really keen to get that there for the festival. So I think they just bust a gut. I think they did pretty well on that.
Yeah.
It was nice seeing a lot of the different people who worked behind the scenes there because at the end of the day, I was just strolling around and I saw you and Nick, and I also bumped into Matt Fitton as well.
Yeah, and Jason Gallery was there as well for all 3 days.
Yeah, there's a lot of them there.
Absolutely, I think that's the nature of Big Finish. Actually, there's no sort of standing on the ceremony. We all kind of put our all in when we get big events like that. So we're all invited along, and it's really. It's always really good to meet people who buy the CDs and actually talk to them properly rather than doing through forums.
Yeah, well, I met Barnaby Edwards at the 50th, and then I met him again.
Yeah, he was doing the drama workshop, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I met him again, and it's funny to notice, you look at both the pictures, and Barnaby's got less of a beard, and I've grown up, so the photos are quite different.
2 years difference, it's scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Patterson, they're both quite different.
Take us through a day recording of a normal Big Finish audio.
Oh, crikey, I'm sure everybody does it slightly differently. From my point of view, I turn up about 9 o'clock and we put the coffee on. That's all very exciting, isn't it? Before the recording, I would have done a schedule of order of recording and who I need at what time. We kick off about 10 o'clock, and then I didn't necessarily do it in story order, in chronological order with the scenes. We might chop and change, especially with Jago and Lightfoot. We have a restricted number of characters and casts, so we have to sort of juggle. I might record some scenes from another episode that day and see whether the attention is lagging at any point, in which case we have a cup of coffee and Toby generously donates some donuts for us. Really hard work, and then we carry on really till pretty much till 6 o'clock, which when we're technically scheduled to finish. But during that time, basically, my job is to sit in the control room, and I think really the director's responsibility is to be almost like a third eye to be the listener's ear. And if something doesn't sound quite right, if the pacing isn't quite right, if you want somebody to pick up the speed a bit or slow down a bit, then you get them to do it there. I'd always say that 95% of the success of any audio is in the casting, and as long as you've got your actors in place and they all know what they're doing, and the script's obviously been through quite a lot of... oh, hello, somebody gone.
Yeah.
I bought them already, oh Lord. No, to cut a long story short, yeah, I just boss people around a bit, that's all.
Is there any different being an actor doing the audios, like as being a director doing the audios?
Say again?
Is it any different being an actor doing the audios as it is being an actor?
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, obviously, I'm a little bit greedy on Jago and like because I'm in this and I direct it. But from my point of view, if I'm doing two at the same time, you're very reliant on other people in the control room, or even some of the other actors to say, "Oh, do you think that would be a good idea if you did X, Y, and Z?" Or, so you need somebody with a third ear. But if I'm in somebody else's production, then I really have to zip my lip. It's not my place to kind of say things. I will do as I am told. Let's put it that way.
So we briefly touched upon it that you recently attended the Doctor Who Festival and you met me and Callum. How did you enjoy it?
I think it's interesting because obviously Big Finish and myself as an individual have been to quite a few conventions over the years. But my first experience of the BBC organisation, BBC organised ones, was the 50th, which I think did you both go to the 50th?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I was so overwhelmed by what a good spirit that festival had. I mean, it was a real celebration. It was fantastic. It had a vibe that I hadn't really experienced before. I think all of us at Big Finish, when we went along, I don't think we were expecting to have that much attention. I mean, we had obviously a smaller stall than we did have at this most recent Doctor Who festival. And I think we thought there was going to be a lot of tumbleweed around. But we were absolutely inundated. And to hear so much positive feedback from people we'd never met before. I mean, obviously there are people who go to conventions quite regularly, and you do see a lot of the same people. But there were whole families, and what I was really struck by is that a whole family would come along, and not only would the kids have listened to some of the Big Finish, but the dads would as well. And I think it just proves that we do a little bit of everything for everybody. And to have that shared experience was terrific. And then I rounded it out, obviously, on the Saturday night by watching the episode, the 50th episode, with 3,500 other people at the XL. Which that communal experience was quite extraordinary, and the response every time there was a little bit of surprise on screen was terrific. And obviously the festival, more recently, obviously was more concentrated on Peter Capaldi and his tenure, and again it was really good to meet lots of different people, and it's just. Let's put it this way: everybody's been very nice, too much flack, and it's nice. It's a very positive experience for us.
I noticed, well, I don't know if you noticed, but when we were at the festival, when I was talking to you and Toby, my dad was kind of just off-centre and he was just carrying all the bags. I just find it funny.
I've seen that sort of status thing before. It's quite funny.
Yeah, just whenever I go to a convention, I find it, everyone always finds it funny, no matter who we talk to, that the fact that my dad doesn't watch any Doctor Who, doesn't like the show, but he goes to everything.
Oh, I know. Did he even watch it when he was a kid?
No, because I think it must have started 2 years before he was born. But
oh my god!
He never really watched anything like that. I just recently found out he used to watch a couple sci-fi programs, and that surprised me. But no, he's never.
Well, I think he's allowed. I mean, my christening into it is because I had two older brothers, so I remember it from actually pretty much the first series as a child. I mean, I was really quite young at the time, but I think you need somebody to lead you into it initially. So how did you discover Doctor Who, and how did you start on it? Because it must have finished before.
I started with the new series. When it came back.
The new series. And did it spark, I'm interested, did it spark your interest in the old series, or did you think, I'll just stick to the new series?
I've just recently got into it, I think it was last year, I started to go back and look at more of the old series.
Where did you pick up from? Where did you start? At the very beginning?
No, I didn't. I've kind of just been getting like random ones and just watching them all from there. I think my first one from the classic was Horror Fang Rock.
Which Doctor was that? Can you see actually say how little I know? The fourth. Oh,
yeah.
You see, I think Tom Baker was an absolute genius. I mean, there were some very, very, and also Patrick Troughton. I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can't actually remember the first episode I watched, but I do remember seeing Rose. But I'm not in my mind. I can still remember that. I think the first episode I watched was possibly Dalek back in 2005.
Oh, that's a very good. By Rob Shearman.
But, I mean, I just got hooked on there. But I can remember this as a kid. This is an awful confession. When I was younger, I got classic Doctor Who DVDs, and I never watched any of them. Like, I refused to watch them because of what they were, like old. So, I mean, of course, 2 years ago, or maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, I started to get to educate myself in classics, and then I was just thinking, I bought this DVD, and I realised I used to have this, and I never watched it.
Do you enjoy them? I mean, obviously they're very different from the new series, but do you enjoy them just as much?
Yeah,
I can see some similarities. Well, it is the same show, of course, but I equally like them both. I mean, there's not a Doctor I dislike at all. I mean, recently I've kind of gotten more into Sister McCoy's era.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
I really like.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've gotten a lot into Big Finish as well. That's something which I really like that for having the full cast. I think that's something which is really good to have.
Absolutely.
So I've got another question for you, which is, if someone, for anyone who hasn't heard any Bernie Summerfield, how would you describe the character of Bernie?
Crikey. Well, I'm going to have to do a potted history for a start. For people who are really honest, so get your cushions out and your thermos flask. To be honest, Bernie Summerfield, I didn't know of her existence really until I was told about her when somebody was explaining that somebody would like me to possibly play the part. She was created in all the Doctor Who New Adventure novels.
Okay.
Published by Virgin Publishing, and they started being published after the show finished in 1989. And over the years, they created new characters. Excuse me, one of whom was a 26th century archaeologist called Professor Bernie Summerfield, who was a companion to the Seventh Doctor. Now, cut to when the BBC got all its rights back in, because the Paul McGann movie came out, and I think the BBC thought that was going to be the beginning of something big.
Yeah.
So Virgin Publishing lost the rights to the Doctor Who New Adventure novels, but Virgin Publishing kept the character of Bernie Summerfield on. She'd actually been created by Paul Cornell, so it was his property, if you like. And apparently the character was so popular, they carried on the book series, with her on her own. Now, cut to 1998, and a company had formed, with a few guys, Gary Russell, Nick Briggs and Jason Haig-Henry, and they'd formed an audio company called Big Finish in the hopes of doing audio drama for Doctor Who fans, using a lot of the older Doctor Who actors. And I had done a storyline called Survival, which was the last storyline in 1989. And to cut an extremely long story short, I'd met Gary Russell doing an audio called I Was a Doctor Who Monster, because indeed I was, in a funny sort of way, kind of the cheetah person. And Mike Tucker, who writes the Doctor Who books, as well as being the visual effects designer on Doctor Who when I worked on it, told me that they were interested in me playing this character called Bernie Summerfield. Now, Bernie Summerfield is not, before anybody gets on with comparisons, she's not really like Riversong. Yes, Riversong is an archaeologist, as is Bernie Summerfield. But I would say their characters are pretty much dissimilar. Bernie certainly used to be, although we've moved the character on a bit, used to be an all drinking, all partying sort of girl. I think the reason that she's so popular is that she is fallible. She's not superhuman. She doesn't, leap over rocks and, doesn't get out of things unscathed. She's very quick-witted. She uses her wit and her bit of jokery when she needs to. It's been said before, if sometimes if writers give her too many jokes, I think she becomes really irritating. But we try and keep that in. We try and limit that a bit. So, in a sense, people talk about strong female characters, and actually, yeah, she is. She's just a straightforward, bright, fallible archaeologist who can get on with the Doctor actually on quite level terms. He's always the one that solves it, but she certainly doesn't, give him any leeway in terms of his behaviour. But I think generally she's quite fun company. So that's what I would say, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Is there any kind of story? Is there any story you would recommend for someone to start off?
Yeah, there were kind of two actually. Only a couple of years ago, we adapted the very first novel she ever turned up in, called Love and War, which is a Seventh Doctor audio with Bernice and with Ace, because obviously that's where she originated. So if you really want to hear her right back at the beginning in terms of the novels, then that adaptation's quite good. And also, just for novelty's sake, the very first Big Finish audio that ever came out, which was, of course, Oh No It Isn't, which was a Bernie. I think it had originally had the Doctor in the novel, but it had been adapted, so it was a Bernice story. And we've got Mark Gatiss in it, who plays the Vizier in it. We've got Nick Briggs in it. We've also got Nick Courtney, who used to play the Brigadier. Yeah. And oddly, he plays my cat. But, so you'll have to listen to that to understand it. Yeah. I think for British listeners, it's a little bit more understandable because it's all about pantomime. I think perhaps for American listeners, it gets a bit confusing. It's great fun, and I also think it shows what an amazing standard. Considering it was 17 years ago, 17. It's hard to believe it's 17 years ago. When you hear it, even in its early days, Big Finish really cut the mustard when it came to the quality, and I think it showed just what the company could do. And I think they've come on leaps and bounds as well. So that's it's a pretty good standalone one, that as well. Yeah.
If there was any other Doctor that you'd like to work with, who would it be?
I'd like to work with all of them. I'm going to be greedy. I did a short story with Paul McGann with Doctor Who number 8, and obviously I've worked with Sylvester. I'd really love to have a go with number 4. I think I just but I'm biased. I think that would be great fun. But generally, no, bring it on. Give me any Doctor at all. I had a slightly strange experience recently. I've been doing a couple of the BBC audio books that aren't Big Finish, actually BBC audio. One was the original novel of Human Nature, which originally had been adapted for television for David Tennant. And in fact, that had been adapted from a Doctor Who number 7 and Bernice Summerfield book called Human Nature. And I was very fortunate, and the BBC asked me to do the audio book. And then following on from that, Gary Russell has recently written a 12th Doctor novel called The Big Bang Generation, and the companion happens to be Bernice Summerfield. So that's a sort of first crossover. So in a sense, Bernice has met the 12th, but sadly I had to do his voice. So that was an interesting experience. My doctors are Scottish. What's going on? This is not good.
I think it would be nice. Like, would you like to be on the show with Capaldi given the chance?
Oh no, it'd be a terrible idea.
I think it'd be nice because I do like the Big Bang Generation. I think it was nice to just see Bernice with 12.
I think she cut through his. I think she cut through his seriousness and his cynicism. I think that's quite a good combo. But some people would probably quote an old quote saying, "Well, she would say that, wouldn't she?" But I think actually that's the longevity of the character as well. The strength of the character that Paul Cornell created really is testament to the fact she's lasted so long because she is adaptable. I think she doesn't dominate. Stories that she's in terms of other doctors or other characters, and I think generally because I suppose characters like to hang out with her. She's good company. I think she's pretty adaptable with any doctor you throw at her, really. Have you listened to Bernie Summerfield? That's the question.
Yes, I have.
Silence.
Yeah.
just on the off chance you thought we had. No, well, after I have started late.
It's all right.
So I'm going to apologise for that.
Better
but
than ever.
I have a very extortionate Big Finish Christmas list, you see.
I see.
So I've also got a lot of birthday money still. But I got the New Adventures Bernie Summerfield at the festival.
That's a really good jumping on point. Obviously, there's a whole couple of series that have got quite a long story arc to them, and obviously the latter box sets as well. But I think that the first box of the crossover with Bernie Summerfield and Seventh Doctor is a really good point, jumping on point. Yeah. Good one.
Cool.
You've got an audio coming up, Theatre of War with Sylvester and Sophie.
And it comes out at the same time as All Consuming Fire as well, same month. Yeah.
How was that to record?
Well, that was great. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I think it was Theatre of War, where dear old Miles Richardson, who plays a fantastic character called Braxitel, he's turned up in the Gallifrey audios as well. He is also a Time Lord. And the two of them, for most of the Bernie Summerfield series, have had quite a sort of sparring partnership. And we had Miles back, but he's been really busy as an actor, so I had to record all my bits separately with him. So I had one day in studio, then everybody piled in on a day I wasn't in, and then I came back just with Miles and me. So it was difficult to get an overall view, and I haven't heard it yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. And All Consuming Fire, obviously, is the one with Sherlock Holmes in. So,
yeah.
That's fun. That was great fun.
It's nice to see a different variety of characters, because as you were saying how Bernie's originated not from Big Finish, another one which is one you've actually worked on is Iris Wildthyme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the most recent one. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, because I picked that up as well, and I noticed you played two characters in that.
Yeah, there were two completely over-the-top characters. I think that the nature of Iris Wildthyme is not subtle and understated, but it always, as an actor, it's always great fun, especially in audio, to play as many different characters as possible. And my challenges to myself is people saying, "Oh, I didn't know that was you," so or they didn't think it was me, which is always really gratifying. So, well, I hope that's the case anyway. And Iris Wildthyme is definitely a case in point on that one. That was terrific fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it must have been fun to work with Katie Manning. I mean, I've personally met Katie Manning, and she's really lovely.
Don't forget her, can you?
Yeah.
I've worked with Katie on and off for a very long time, because she turned up in one of the early Bernie Summerfield ones, which was weirdly the fourth part of a trilogy, if that makes sense, which was the Excellis trilogy, and then we did an extra one called The Plague Herds of Excellis, which was the first time that Iris Wildthyme met Bernice, and I think she pretty much put a stamp on everything. I'm not too sure that wasn't the first time she'd actually played Iris, and then it was decided to go ahead. But obviously I've worked with Katie as a director on the Companion Chronicles, where she's playing Jo. Yeah. And then we did a Companion Chronicle with Jo and Iris Wildthyme, so that you can imagine. And she's so clever, she's so good at the voices, very good actress, Katie. So it was great fun.
What's been your favourite story to work on?
I am slightly biased, and it's not to do with the fact, because I do love Bernie Summerfield, but I absolutely adore Jago and Lightfoot.
Oh yeah.
I don't know whether you know about the origins of Jago and Lightfoot. Two characters who were in the Tom Baker story, The Talons of Wayne
Yeah.
Back in the mid-70s. And we've got two splendid actors who played them originally, in Trevor Baxter and Christopher Benjamin, and it's set in Victorian London. And basically, we're just about to start recording series 12. So
that's crazy.
We've been going great guns, and I absolutely adore everything I do with them. But I think my favourite, because it was so bonkers, was a full musical episode called Encore of the Scorches. We have an absolute genius composer called Howard Carter, who wrote this full musical, fully orchestrated, brilliant musical, and I was very lucky to get a crack cast together, and we had brilliant fun. I can obviously I am biased, but I can recommend that to anybody. It's absolutely fantastic, and I had a ball on that, so that's one of my favourite.
Cool.
Well, I'm currently I'm partially going through Jaguar and Lightfoot and Strax.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's a good. If you've never listened to Jago Light before, that's a really, really good leaping on point as well, actually. I mean, obviously, I'm slightly biased because I would say start at the beginning. And we tried them out on a Companion Chronicle about 7 years ago. I suppose it was about 6 years ago now. And David Richardson, who's the line producer at Big Finish, who was producing the Companion Chronicles at the time, thought it was a good idea to try them out. And they were absolutely fantastic. Again, I'm slightly biased because I get to be in them as well, so I'm being a bit greedy on that one. And they turned out to be so good. I think David just thought, well, this is a no-brainer. We've got to get them in, and here we are at Series 12. Brilliant.
I think it's nice to see the diversity in Big Finish, like all the different kind of stories they tell.
Absolutely.
And with the new license as well, because now you've been able to get Strax in, and the unit box sets as well.
Yeah, you've got River Song, you've got the War Doctor, you've got David Tennant. I mean, goodness me, it's fantastic, isn't it?
So much stuff.
It really is.
I think I read it's up to. I think the license goes up to Time of the Doctor. If I remember correctly.
So I'm not party to these things. All I can see is all the stuff coming out, and of course it's not just Doctor Who they do as well. Last year I was directing Blake 7, which is another. You're way too young to remember Blake 7 first time round, but as ever we've been very lucky. Got the original casts in and had some brilliant writing, and I think we're back on those next year, which we're delighted about. Which is great, and then obviously they've got things like Omega Factor and the Survivors, which I was acted in the last series of Survivors, that's a very bleak sort of series, but it's pretty, again, very high quality writing. They've on the other end of the scale got Terrorhawks, which is a little bit mad and brilliant. So it is extraordinary, the breadth of stuff they're doing at the moment. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't particularly listen to Big Finish. A lot of them are now coming on with David Tennant. Because I know quite a few people who haven't listened, who are now that they've heard David Tennant's coming in, they've started listening to a few old ones.
It's interesting with audio. I think I might be generalising a bit, but I think perhaps it's a bit more of a tradition in this country to listen to radio and audio plays than it is perhaps in the States or anywhere else, because we've been brought up with Radio 4. We're very lucky to have had Radio 4 and lots of radio drama. And I think also, there are a lot of audio books out there, but I think people think that a lot of audio is literally just a person reading a book, like an audio book.
Yeah.
I think the difference with Big Finish, as you guys have probably noticed, is that all you have to do is close your eyes and it's like you're listening to a film soundtrack.
Yeah.
You've got the sound effects, you've got the full cast, you've got music. It is everything but the pictures. And they always say the sets are better in your mind. So I think once people who've never experienced audio drama, especially younger people, once they listen to them, I think it's a great way in, and hopefully that there'll be a little bit more experimenting with other stories. You can pick and mix, find a doctor you like, give a story a go, and see how it goes. And of course, they're available for download as well, not just CDs.
Yeah.
I think it was really it's nice, like for instance the fact that they finally got to give Colin Baker a Generation story.
Yeah.
I know
as well.
It's such a good story.
It really is, and also, within the Companion Chronicle range, a lot of people, and including the actors, have understood that it's given much more depth and breadth to the characters that they played, because perhaps back in the 60s and 70s, they weren't that interested in fleshing out the characters of the companions sometimes. And over the years, you look at the kind of writing and drama that we've provided for the characters, to give them a backstory and to give them an understanding of where they're coming from, has been fantastic. It really has, and that's quite exciting.
How was it recording the very first audio of Barney Summerfield?
It's very different from how it is today.
Yeah,
it was all a bit. It was flying by strings in those days. They got a studio, well, you can loosely call it a studio, which was a room in a basement in Elephant and Castle, which was a slightly unprepossessing area of London at that time. They've tarted it up a bit since then. And it was run by a load of old hippies. It was very damp, and you go down into the depths of this building, and there were a couple of moth-eaten cats around, and there was one microphone in the middle of this room. And a very splendid editor we had, who we still use, called Alistair Locke. And it was done a bit more like old-fashioned radio was, in that you go in and out of the microphone. If you're walking off, you have to kind of walk away from the character, pitch your voice up. Use a lot more sort of radio technique, which is what I did at drama school and stuff. And there was dear old Alistair in the corner with his little DAT machine, which is a little digital tape recorder. And I thought personally it was going to sound rubbish, because I was used to BBC radio, very smart studios. And of course, everything is done post-production. And digital technology has just come on enormously. I know quite a few people have heard the podcasts and the interviews on the extras of the CDs. And you probably now know that we're all in separate booths on separate tracks. Everything is done post-production. So it was a little bit basic in those days. It really was. I think we only ever used that studio once. We moved around London quite a few times. There was one in Hammersmith, I think one in Kennington. And then we ended up with Toby, who used to be in, not Tooting, where am I thinking about? No, it was just off in Brixton, and was Streatham, Brixton. And then he moved his studio out to West London, and that's where we are now, thankfully. And we're very lucky. We've got a couple of other studios we can use as well when things get a bit too busy.
Yeah. Because the amount of stuff Big Finish is doing, they must work 24/7.
Yes, they do. Actually, I'm less so than some of the other guys who are doing more than me, but absolutely, they work so hard. And I think people have got to remember, it's still a pretty small company. I know a couple of other people come into the office now just purely because of the sheer amount of work that has to be done. If you think about it, it's not just about getting it written. You have to get the schedules done for when all the studios are free. You have to have enough editors to do the editing, enough directors to do the directing, enough writers to be able to do the writing in time, because obviously there is a time scale on these things. Then afterwards you've got the post-production, you've got the printing, the graphics, the obviously the mastering of all the CDs, all the CD production, and there's the distribution, the warehouse. You think about all of that stuff and how much they're doing. It just makes your brain fry.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it in perspective, you've got if you look at what's coming out in the next half year, there's so much coming out. And it's not just Doctor Who, as you said. There's a lot more.
Yeah, and we've got The Prisoner coming out soon. There's still the Avengers, I think, coming out with Mrs. Peel. I don't know about the Sherlock Holmes. I'm certainly going to be in pre-production for another series of Graceless, which was an original series. What was I going to say? Oh no, just the sheer amount. But I would say to people, sometimes people say, "Oh, there's too much," but actually, you don't have to buy everything. I urge people to pick and mix, because otherwise you just bankrupt yourself. You don't want to do that. And it's never going to go away. There'll always be things available. So take your time and just enjoy.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard glowing reports about Paul McGann, so I eventually managed to pick up one of his, and it's great for the likes of Paul McGann, who wasn't in the show for very long, to be able to come and make so many audios.
I think it's interesting how people have come on board over the years. There's always been a champion somewhere along the line who will sit, the guys down and say, "Listen, you really should try Big Finish." And if you look at the people who said they never would and who have come on board and then suddenly realise that actually it's the quality of the writing that has really attracted people. So, we've got Paul, who's been absolutely fantastic. I mean, Janet Fielding said she'd never do any Big Finish, and she has. And Tom Baker as well. And you look at the people coming on board. We're so fortunate that once the word gets round, and I know everybody talks about it, but, about the lunches as well. Everybody enjoys themselves. I think because most of us are actors and creatives, that there's no real middle management at Big Finish, and I think actors of experience really appreciate that, because you get them in because you know their work and you know that you're going to trust them to do the job and have a jolly good time doing it. So the pool of actors we've got has been absolutely amazing. I mean, John Hurt, that's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's nice as well for him. It's kind of quite. I mean, I'm kind of predicting the same thing that kind of happened with Paul, is that Paul was only in it once. Same with John.
Absolutely.
So the same thing could potentially happen, and he could end up.
And as long as people, I mean, as ever, as long as people want to buy them, we have to be able to justify making stuff. And if something's popular, we'll keep making it. And as long as everybody's up for it, there's no reason why it shouldn't happen.
I think the one great thing that I liked is the 50th anniversary, the light at the end.
Yeah,
that was
amazing.
Really well done, because I mean, I just picked that up at the festival because of the discount. So I gave that a listen. I gave that a listen on the way home on the plane, and I fair enjoyed it. I mean, you look at the cast for that one story was just amazing, and personally, I felt that was a better payoff to Doctor Who than the actual televised episode.
I think it's the flip side of the same coin, really. I mean, I think the audience for the television sometimes is a little bit different from the audience to the audios. I don't quite know how that would show itself necessarily, but I think, put them both together, I think that Doctor Who fans who've been deprived for so many years when it went off air have been sort of spoilt for choice, really.
Yeah, because the light at the end was really good.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. That's excellent.
Yeah, it was a really good story. I quite like the. I'm just trying to think. I really like the fact that we've got the new license and the old, because I'm really looking forward to the classic Doctor's New Monsters one that's coming out soon.
Oh yeah, that should be really exciting. And I mean, in a way, we've experimented a little bit with the Jago and Lightfoot and Strax, which actually was an absolute. It fitted like a glove with those characters. So I don't think there's any reason why the new monsters and the old Doctors and vice versa. I mean, it's really exciting. Still so many stories to tell. It's exciting.
Yeah.
It's just great with audio because you can do things you can't do in the TV show.
Absolutely.
That's the one thing I really like about the audios. But I mean, I'm really looking forward to that because I mean, just the thought of seeing like Peter Davison up against the Weeping Angels or things like that. It's just it's really good. I mean, once they got the license for New Who, I wasn't expecting as much as what they've managed to get.
I wouldn't expect David Tennant to come back.
No, exactly. How exciting is that? I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? I think it's been a very gradual realization from the fans that they've got the new license, because there was never. I don't think Big Finish ever did a big fanfare about getting it, and suddenly little announcements came through, and the penny dropped with everybody, and then it just got more and more exciting as the announcements came out. I think it was brilliant.
I think I think it leaked slightly early before Big Finish.
I know, but then they came out with John Hurt, who nobody knew about, which was really exciting.
Yeah, that's certainly going to be something to look forward to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of like good starting points for everything, really.
Absolutely. I mean, I would always say pick your favourite Doctor or favourite aliens and just give something a go. You know, the temptation is just to kind of try and buy a whole lot. But also, look for recommendations if you've got friends who've got one, see what they like. But just do a bit of homework and take a pick, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I started pretty late with Colin because I started watching the story, and then by the end he had regenerated. But I mean, for instance, like Paul McGann, I picked up Doom Coalition. That was my first one.
Right.
And then now I'm working backwards and going through Dark Eyes, and also a couple of the individual.
Yeah, you know that they had a poll recently for the top, your favourite out of 200.
Oh yeah.
And it was Colin's one with Paul's one with India, I think it was, which was not Holy Terror, Chimes of Midnight that won it. So it's definitely worth trying maybe a Paul one as well, to give that a go.
I mean, I picked up Bernice. I mean, I've been putting off for ages because, as I spoke to you at the festival, I had bought a couple DVDs for you to sign. Well, I bought Survival for you to sign,
That's
and I was gonna go get a few Bernies at the convention that never was.
And yes, exactly.
And then I was quite glad when I saw you at the 50th the 50th the festival to go and pick up one.
That's
and I'm currently about 3/4 of the way through episode 3. Of it. But I'm fair enjoying it so far.
Oh well, that's a few online reviews, always terrifying. No, that's very good.
Yeah.
I think one great thing though is I think the fact that with all these new cast announcements is a lot of people are going to come on board and realise like how much you can get people who are fan of 10 and also like Blake 7 and come on and pick up and there's tons of
exactly it. And I think when you actually explain to people that it's not people pretending to be the original cast, it's actually all the original casts doing it's really exciting.
I mean, when I first heard of Big Finish, I started probably early this year, late last year.
Mm-hmm.
I first heard of it. I thought it would just be like an audiobook, so they'd have one actor reading it. But then once you listen to your first one, you realise if you think about it, you could take an episode from like William Hartnell, take away the picture, and it would sound like a Big Finish.
Absolutely, and it's amazing, isn't it? And also, I mean, if you've got the time, not that everybody has, if you've got the time just to sit with your earphones on, you realise quite how good the audio quality is, and you do get completely immersed in it. I think it's great.
I like the fact that as much as you can let your imagination run wild, for me, I like to just sit and have the I usually sit at my computer desk and have the cover art on my monitor. Just so I can like visualize kind of the characters and stuff. But I mostly listen to it with your eyes shut. But it's everyone's got a preference on how they listen to them.
Absolutely, brilliant. Well, I just hope that from your good publicity, people are going to just give it a go because it's always. I mean, I can't guarantee it, but there's always an element of people going, I'm going to. Oh, I won't listen. I won't listen. Oh, I will listen. Oh, I really like that. Okay, I'm going to buy 5. So
because it's a great thing to fill in the gap of the series being off.
And there's online information, I think, if there, because there's so much continuity in Doctor Who, it's mind blowing. Because unlike any other drama, I think the detail that is required in terms of what story comes between what and what the timeline is it's terrifying. I don't know how the guys at Big Finish deal with it because there is so much continuity to keep it. Well, it's got 50 years of continuity. It's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah,
I mean, I quite liked when they brought back Paul McGann for the mini episode. I quite like the fact that they referenced Big Finish.
No, that really was extraordinary because I think we were at the 50th. Obviously, I think it went out the night before, and it was the first time I think Big Finish had been brought into the Doctor Who fold almost officially, and there's always the argument about canon and all that sort of stuff. Suddenly we were legitimate, and the interest just went wild. It was really, really great. That was a fantastic thing to happen.
Yeah. I mean, you read a lot of things about the fact that it being canon or not. I mean, I once read, it would have been maybe a few weeks back, I was on a forum and I read it was like a 2-page argument as to why Big Finish isn't canon. And I'm just thinking, no, it is. I
think there are so many people who've crossed over from Big Finish into the new series, either writing or technically or anything like that. That it's almost seamless now. I know I am biased, but I do think that Big Finish are very aware of what's happened. I mean, we've had to change things. I did a companion chronicle called The Beginning, which was meant to happen before the first episode of a story that happens before the first episode ever, back in the 60s. And we had a particular design of a TARDIS on the front of the CD. And then I think it was the 50th that came out, and suddenly they had this sort of cylindrical thing. We had to change the design on the front of it just to make sure that continuity was good enough.
Yeah.
That's the good thing about it, really, is that you can kind of, well, for me, I think I've got an order coming of quite a lot
Yeah.
to fill in the gap with next year between Christmas and the next series.
Excellent.
We're not. I don't think anyone's sure when the next series will be
No.
happening.
No,
Really.
absolutely. Oh well, listen, happy listening.
Yeah.
Thanks,
And I think that's what Big Finish has been so brilliant at, because it did actually fill the void between when it came off air and when it came back on again. And I think, I mean, even somebody like, Russell T Davies acknowledges the fact that in a way they kept the flame burning, and it showed that there was a genuine interest out there for Doctor Who. And now, of course, it's extraordinary. I mean, when I did Doctor Who back in 1989 in Survival, we were put out on a Thursday evening against Coronation Street. I mean, we were really buried in those days. And now, I mean, I was abroad when the new series came out with Capaldi, and you've got announcements on the flight boards at Heathrow and the London Eye being lit up blue, and it's completely, it's gone bonkers. It's mad.
The one thing you're saying about timings is there's been a lot of backlash at the times they've been putting out Doctor Who.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, I'm still a defender of the fact that it is a family show. It's family thing, and when you find it sort of clashing with your favourite Scandinavian drama on BBC Four, you know it's going out too late. I was brought up with it being just after tea time, so I'm a bit old-fashioned. I think it should be on early. I really do.
I don't know if you've heard. They've just announced the time for the Christmas special.
Which is?
And that's 5:15.
Right.
Ah, no, that's a proper time.
I was really surprised, because I mean, I thought every Christmas special I think has typically been quite late.
Yeah.
I think you think about it though. You have your Christmas tea and you watch Doctor Who. I mean, that's what the tradition used to be. I know, again, I'm a bit old-fashioned, but I think that's a nice time of day. I think that means that everybody can watch it.
Yeah, I think it's nice that they're going to be airing it. It's just the fact that they've got to watch out, because there are a few people who like to make a good complaint.
Yeah. There's been lots of complaints this series.
I mean,
can't please all the people at the time. I think we know that from those of us who've been involved in the Doctor Who world for quite a while. It really is extraordinary that the level of debate, should we say, lively debate about the smallest details. So I think it's better earlier than later. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
I think it's a nice time, and also the thing I'm liking about the Christmas and Big Finish is that we've got River Song in Christmas, and then a couple months later we'll have River back in Big Finish as well.
Hey, I love it. I love it. You see, there's a nice continuity to that, isn't there?
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that we get to see an archaeologist off with Benny and River.
That would be cool.
Trowel off. Trowels at dawn. Yeah, absolutely. I'll give it a go. I have no idea. I mean, I haven't heard anything. I don't know. That's the one thing with Bernice. There are things that are completely out of my control. I do know that I'll be recording a new box set at the beginning of next year, and there'll be a big announcement in January. That for some people will be very interesting. And I can't say any more than that, I'm afraid.
Cool.
Oh, that's great. I'm really, but I mean, Big Finish is something which, I remember vaguely a few years ago, my dad told me to listen to it. I mean, I don't know how he knew about it, and I didn't.
Yeah,
so he told me to listen to some, and I was like, oh, well, I will listen to it. So, and then skip forward to now, I'm just going through Big Finish, my account. And at the bottom, there's one Short Trips 2, which he got me, that I never listened to. So I've just downloaded it to listen to at some point.
The Short Trips, I don't know how long ago it was, because I've been directing some of those recently, and that it really is much more one person telling a story. But they're nice little half-hour stories, though, so we've had some really good Short Trips, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was listening to one, I think it was William Russell was doing one, and
he's one of the earlier ones. Yeah. Oh, he's terrific.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just nice for the fans to be able to. I mean, for instance, Colin Baker back in the when he was on Doctor Who, he never really got that much of a great reception, to be honest. And now.
Yeah, and now it's one of the favourite ones, isn't it? Yes, because it's had some fantastic stories, really fantastic stories. So that's pretty good. He's very lucky.
It's nice just the fact that you get a choice. I mean, if you can choose whether to either listen to like a Fourth Doctor adventure or a Fourth Doctor Big Finish, and
Absolutely.
the show Big Finish has kind of got the quality that this show doesn't, in the fact that they can do whatever they want, or to an extent.
I mean, obviously they have to run things past Cardiff because there are particular styles to Doctor Who. You can play with ideas and with storylines, but there are things that we can and can't do. So in a way, that narrow channel does concentrate the creative mind quite a lot, and I think that can be an advantage sometimes. So everything has to be approved by the BBC, and I think we're lucky that we have a good relationship with them. It's very good.
Well, I think we're going to wrap things up.
That's it for that. Great. Well, it's lovely talking to you guys.
It's been great.
It was great chatting with you. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, well, thanks for asking me.
Coming soon from Big Finish Productions, Doctor Who, Theatre of War.
Welcome to Manaxus. Or as close as you'll get away from the real thing.
This is amazing.
You expect us to believe that... Wait, it's you.
As usual, my reputation precedes.
Professor Summerfield. But how...
Kilmarnock!
4 statues that look exactly like the 4 of us. Intriguing, isn't it?
That definitely shouldn't happen.
They've detected us.
Weapon systems locking on. They're firing.
Get us moving, now!
We have to save the machine.
A trick! A Ripperian trick!
Get me away from here! Guards!
Oh, how do I get into these situations? Strap in, Benny, strap in.
Now, Doctor, take the machine and go! Now! While you still can!
The rest is silence. Big Finish. We love stories.